Welcome to the Moon God Pod. I'm your host, JwowLax, aka Jason Harrell. With me always is my main man, JwowLax. And today we have a very special Aku Moon God podcast. We like to talk to moon gods of the project, but also what I consider moon gods in real life. And today we have Coach Maurice Jackson. He is my former coach. He is now assistant principal. Long time in the school system, working with children, molding young minds, both on and off the field. You also attended Winston-Salem State, an HBCU. I couldn't think of anyone better that's when we talk about education in the AKU program than you to kind of get some insight on kind of today's youth and, you know, the AKU character, the IP that we have developed, and we'll kind of get all into the nuts and bolts of it. But this character that we have, Aku, really seems to resonate not just with myself and JwowLax, but I think that there is definitely a need in the school system. You've had a chance to kind of look and see and just even see the art. And so, first of all, just welcome to the program. Always good to see you. And,
yeah, thank you.
And just jump right into it.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that thank you guys for having me. They would jump right into it. Like I said, the Aku character, from what I've watched and what I've seen, is outstanding. It's very needed, much so needed in the Black community. My family, for example, if I can tell a story real quick, we go to a diverse church. And the reason we go to a diverse church is because when my daughter was 5 years old, she asked, where does white people go when they die? And I said, baby, they go to heaven, and she was like, no, we go to heaven, because we were at a Black church. And she says, no, we go to heaven. Where does white people go? And I was like, baby, they go to heaven too. And so she couldn't grasp that concept at first that, that we went to the same heaven, because when she went to church, all she saw was Black people. So we made a mission, my wife and I made a mission to find a diverse church so that we could bring our kids up in that diverse church and let her see as a 5-year-old that there are white people that go to church too. So that's what the Aku kind of reminds me of when the young man asked, could, are any astronauts Black? So I just think about Ronald McNair, who's right down the road from here. I'm in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and Ronald McNair, who went to North Carolina A&T in Greensboro, North Carolina. Think about him and losing his life on the shuttle. So, I wonder if Ronald McNair, at some time in his life, young life, if he had that same question, that he made it a reality.
Coach, thanks again for joining the podcast. Much appreciated. Can you go in your background? I'm curious as to how one becomes an assistant principal.
Okay, well, it's called the burnout coach. No, it's just what we did is I coached and I taught. I was fortunate where I could start my education background off on by coaching. Coaching opened a lot of doors for me. But I went to Winston-Salem State. I got a degree in physical education. Got a second degree in sports management. I thought I was going to be a sports agent, so Michael Jordan, none of the big guys called at the time. So I decided I would go into education and try and make a bunch of guys reach the league. Well, after that, like I said, I had to coach for about 20 years. And then I decided that, well, since I'm in education, I better get on the top side of it after this coaching thing is over. And I went back and I got a master's in administration. I've hit the ground running. Our class was one of the top classes of North Carolina, a place called Gardner-Webb University. We went through that master's program within a year. We doubled up on classes and went through a master's program within a year. At the time, the General Assembly in North Carolina was refusing to pay teachers for their master's degree. So, and that deadline was going to be that January. So what we did, we agreed, the university met with us and told us what the General Assembly had decided, and we all agreed that we would double up classes and finish the program a year early so that we could make sure that we get compensated for our time and for our degrees. So
you went to Winston-Salem State, and
yes.
I know that you were a football player.
Yes.
The decision to go to an HBC, what was the importance, and then what do you think like was also like kind of a difference maker in that decision as opposed to the UNCs, the NC State?
Well, the one thing was I went to a school that was probably about 70-30 in diversity. There's no 30% minority. And you have to understand back in the 80s, there weren't too many Hispanics. So it was just us, black and white. And I'm gonna be honest with you, what really got me besides the scholarship offer was anytime we had to vote, we were always outvoted. I couldn't stand that. I'm a competitive guy, but I couldn't stand it. We would have a live band for the prom or a DJ. Well, most of the minorities would vote for the DJ. Well, most of the other people would vote for the live band. Well, guess who won? The live band. Okay, so I wanted to go somewhere where I was the majority, and just coming from a little small town, Shelby, North Carolina, by way of Lawndale, North Carolina, then it was my duty to seek out African American colleges, HBCUs, and that's what I did. Because as Malcolm X say, until you know yourself, you don't know anyone. So I looked for scholarship opportunities, had a couple at some PWIs, but I chose Winston-Salem State. So it was the best choice of my life. I always say the school's so nice, I had to do it twice because I graduated in 93 with a degree in sports management and went back and graduated in 96 with a degree in physical education and health.
So going back to your current role as an assistant coach, it's my position that I think things have gotten harder for kids in general. Do you find that to be true? And if so, like how do you believe that things have gotten more difficult for them?
Things have gotten more difficult for kids. Now, one thing, COVID did not help. Okay, let's go. It did not help at all because it was already tough for kids, but it really messed kids up. And be honest with you, it messed a lot of adults up, teachers as well. But it's gotten harder because when I was in school, for example, in the 80s, if we had a dispute, we just go down the street to what we call the gravel pit where the state dumped their gravel, and we go down there and we handle it, and we come back and we were good. But now it follows the kids home. It's 24/7 social media. If there's an altercation with kids, next thing you know, it's posted up on social media. Everybody in the world is looking at it, and the kids feel embarrassed. Kids don't want to come back to school. Kids get bullied. And the next thing you know, kids feel like they have to get a one-up on you. And that's the thing. Kids always feeling like they have to have a one-up on the next person. So if you beat me up and you post it on YouTube, then I need to come back with my boys and beat you up and post it on YouTube. And then I need to come back, since you beat me up with your boys, and I need to come back and shoot you and then post it on, it's crazy. And it's all just a one-up thing that's really messing kids up right now. But to say that, and that is a pocket, I would say. That's a pocket. That's not all, because there's a lot of kids who are out here doing some great things and who are striving, and they are fighting their way through this regardless. And it's, here at my school, we're at Ronald Wilson Reagan High School, Pofftown, North Carolina. Now, if that don't sound white, but and it was when it was founded in 2005 and built, it was predominantly white, and it's still predominantly white, but it's a growing population of minorities here, which is really good and really diverse, and it's really helping our school. And so, kids are resilient. I mean, I love this school because it's almost like a utopia, because they're very accepting, they're very forgiving. Like any school, you're going to have a pocket of knuckleheads that you deal with, but at the same time, you have to love on them as well. So, but
I've said this many times in life and on this podcast. Like, I feel like we live in a participation ribbon society now, and I want to take it back and just kind of ask you, like, if you were kind of just coaching today, in the mid 90s, you were my coach. but I also played soccer, and I remember seeing the football team, and we're talking 2-3 a days in the August heat in North Carolina. You know, water was like a reward, you know. And most importantly, I remember we played a particular basketball game where we were up by like 40 or 50 at halftime, and we did not win by 40 or 50. I still think we won by 10. And the next day, you made us run for every bucket that the other team scored. We had to run a suicide. Um, you know,
Yeah.
but I use that example as like, you know, like I learned so much from that. I hated you for that, you know,
Because
all day from the day school got out to the till we finished. But I don't even know that. Can you even do that as a coach now? Like I feel like, you know, it made us so tough back
yeah.
then, and now you can't do any of that.
Well, the problem is, back then, I believe and still believe that teams take on the personality of their coach. I was aggressive, so I wanted you guys to be aggressive. That's why we pressed. I mean, I would always tell the joke, and coaches would always say, "Oh, Jackson's gonna press you as soon as you get off the bus. He's gonna be pressing you," and that was the reputation that I enjoyed. I loved because I knew we were aggressive enough to succeed, and that's why we ran so much because we had to be in shape to run and trap as much as we did. But I just felt like I can't ever let you guys be satisfied, and that's what we're missing today. Dawn Staley says it best when she says that you have a backyard workout, but want the Power Five offer, and your parents applaud you for it. That's not the way I was brought up. That's not the way I tried to bring you guys up. It's you guys have to work for what you get. And a lot of these kids, like you said, everybody's getting a ribbon, everybody's getting a trophy. We are in that generation of everybody gets a trophy. I never forget. I was at a church league. We were playing soccer, and my son, made it to the championship game. Well, they lost, but when they went to the table to get their medals and get their trophies, everybody had the same trophy. We left our trophy. I can I can tell you that everybody looking at me like, Mr. Jackson, you forgot? No, we don't want that. I was like, dude, no, man, we don't want that trophy, man. Why are we getting a trophy for losing? I mean, don't get me wrong. And that's the biggest mistake I think we make as parents is that we teach our kids to be successful, but we never teach our kids to fail. And so when failure comes to them, a lot of them don't know how to deal with it. And that's even today. And that's why, sometimes you see suicide rate up so high amongst teens. It's because when they fail at anything, they feel like it's the end of the world. And that's because we as parents have yet to teach our kids how to fail and let them know that, hey, it's okay to fail. Let's just get back up and do it again. And that's what I was trying to teach my son. And I think I did teach my son is that, hey, it's okay to come in second. I'm not telling you to settle for second every time you compete, but at the same time, you're going to be okay. That means you're going to go back and you're going to work a little harder to try and get to first. But I'm not going to give you a trophy the same size as the person who put in more work and who executed better. I'm not get that trophy. That trophy can, I don't know, go to the YMCA or somewhere. But yeah, but then they got on me because it was church league. But I was like, hey, soccer is soccer. Look, competition is competition. I don't care who you are. You just don't do that. But that's the society we're living in now, that everybody wins, and that's not the case. Everybody doesn't win.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. And I'm a big fan of Dawn Staley. I think she's a fantastic coach, and
Yeah.
I like everything that she stands for. I guess switching gears just a bit, when it comes to curriculum in schools and you having conversations with students, are you seeing anybody talk about blockchain or cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or anything like that? Are those words that are spoken of in the school?
You know what? There's not. And unfortunately, that's unfortunate for us because one of our slogans here at Winston-Salem Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools is we preparing our kids for the 21st century. But yet and still, there's a blimp. I'll say that a blimp mention of it in some of our business classes, but no one's really diving into Bitcoins or crypto and things of that nature that I feel like is the 21st century. That's right here at our door. That's coming. And it's gonna. I feel that it's going to be here a lot sooner than what people think. I mean, I know it's here now and people are doing it, but I think it's going to be more widespread. But curriculum wise, that's no part of Bitcoin and things of that nature or in our curriculum. And I just don't understand that.
Do you know if ChatGPT or any other AI related software has kind of reached your doors as of yet?
We're in North Carolina, man. I'll tell you what, we're probably number 46 in the nation in education. So, brother, look, we just got to look. We just got them out the cornfields now. No, but no, it hasn't, man. Like I said, it hasn't. A lot of those kids now, to be honest with you, a lot of the kids who are into AI and things of that nature, they are doing it on their own. For example, my kids did robotics in high school. They did it in middle school and they did it in high school because they went to a STEM school. Now, I should digress and go back and say our STEM schools now, yeah, you hear these terms that are in our STEM schools, but in our traditional high schools, there is no AI, there is no Bitcoin, there is no crypto, there is none of the digital language that I feel like they really need, to some of our leaders, I'll say, they feel like technology is, everybody's got a laptop, everybody's got an iPad. Okay, we're meeting our technology goal. Check that box. They're not diving into the technology the way that I feel like they should as to prepare the kids for the 21st century. You know, but yeah, our STEM schools. My kids went to a STEM school. That was the threat. If you can go to this school, but if you mess up, you get to come to school with me. So they didn't want to come to school with me. So so they went to the STEM school and they did robotics. They built the robots. The robots. They programmed them. You know, it was a really cool thing to see. I mean, they went to competitions, won a state championship one year in robotics. So in North Carolina, A&T would host that, of course. But other than that, if you're not in a STEM school, you don't really get a lot of AI information and stuff of that nature.
It sounds like the digital divide that we kind of hear about. Like,
yeah.
I feel like North Carolina probably is one of those states that's affected. I live in Los Angeles, and I don't think that they probably have a problem, at least in the greater Los Angeles area. It makes me kind of, especially with what you had mentioned about how COVID really affected the school systems. And I kind of, in the Web3 space, this crypto blockchain, like we keep talking about the metaverse, and I'm sure you've heard that term before, where like everything is kind of going digital. Where do you find yourself like trying to figure out that balance for like, like we went all in on Zoom call classes for like a year or two, and then now we're kind of back to traditional. But it like, what did you learn, and where's kind of the future going?
Well, that's what that's a great question, Jason, because what I learned during that time was that be ye prepared, because nobody was prepared to be Zooming as far as part of school. And I mean, trust me, you want to talk about some hiccups, you want to talk about some, just the moments. That at that particular time when we had to go Zoom, oh my God, I wasn't really a tech guy. My kids were. I mean, they could, matter of fact, I would call my son and my daughter at school. I'd be like, "Hey, what's my password?" I'm that type of dad, because they would program all my devices. But what we've done is, and what we've seen is whenever the education system, there's something that they don't know, instead of going to get the knowledge, sitting in on what we call PDs, which is professional developments, and getting the knowledge from someone, they'll seem to kind of skirt around it or back, kind of backdoor it. Like this year now, just this year, we've decided to do our discipline reports online. Now instead of, the old school of writing a kid up, you can just go in and type it up, never interrupt the class, just type it up, and it comes straight to an administrator. We can walk to the class, pick up the kid, and deal with it that way. I myself still prefer the old way of just the write up, and got all the carbon copies. You get the parents, you get the kid, and you give the teacher. But that's just because I'm old. But no, actually it does work, and it's been a long time coming, because when you talk to other school districts, they've been doing it. But like I said, here in North Carolina, we're just not reaching that, that epitome of small things such as a write-up that we can do digitally. And there's a lot more, we have a lot more meetings, I would say, digitally, but we just don't, to me, and it's just to me, I guess, we just don't prepare our kids the way we say we are. We say we prepare them for the 21st century, but when we say that, we're talking more of preparing them for college. Now, I know I've got 2,200 kids in my school, which is big for a school in North Carolina. But I know that all 22 that comes through that door are not going to college. I got 2,200. I know that there's some of them that don't want to go to college. So I asked the question a few years ago, what are we doing for that population? You know, if we're preparing everyone for college and we talk college, and don't get me wrong, we have a 96% graduation rate, okay, which is good, which is high in the state and things of that nature. Like I said, our scores are great. Have a great school, but not everyone wants to go to college. So therefore, we have to prepare them to do something. And I always propose that we prepare them for the future. And the future it's not college. It's learning digital. It's learning trades. It's learning jobs. Because we do need people in the workforce. We're going to need people in the workforce, and we're going to need smart people. If we don't, then hey, digital may take over the workforce. Think about Will Smith, I Am Robot.
I'm looking at your art behind you, and I can from what I can see, I can name a number of them. Tupac, Mandela, and Malcolm X, and Muhammad, and it's kind of interesting because besides I see Kaepernick, but
don't forget Kendrick.
Yeah,
that's the LA boy.
we have it's really interesting that you have that, because part of Aku and what I'm drawn to the project and what I think is needed is again having that kind of character that kids can relate, and like having their own identity portrayed in media. And I always want to think that Aku is like the younger version of what Black Panther could be. Is there a need that really needs to be addressed, especially in like the underrepresented communities, like that a character like Aku could really fit?
I think so. One thing that we try to do in this district is we try to, in our administration staff, for example, I'm one of 5 APs at this school. We have a principal, and then we have 5 APs. And what we try and do is we try and represent the student body. So we want everyone in that student body to be able to relate to somebody on that administration staff. Our biggest struggle right now is finding Latino APs. Some schools have them. Of course, we don't, but we do have a young man that's fluent in Spanish. So, that gives the Latinos and the representation there, because they'll come up and they'll talk and they'll, mess around in Spanish. But, we're underrepresented in so many things that I think that our youth, especially in our elementary schools, need an Aku, because they need to know right now that they can be anything and everything they want to be. And right now, I just don't see our system, the way it's designed and the way it's set up, saying that, because the way our systems and many systems are set up is saying you have to go to college, because if you don't go to college, then you're not going to be anything. You're not going to be successful, and I need for kids to be able to dream like I feel, to ask those important questions. As a person, can I be an astronaut? I need for them to ask those questions, but more importantly, I need to have answers for those kids. Those kids need to have an answer, and have a true answer. It's not shoot straight from the hip. It may hurt your feelings, and it may ruffle your feathers, but it's going to be the truth. Okay, I won't make it up. All right, take back. My mother used to tell me when I was little, before I take it back, I'll add more to it.
You said a key thing there, and you said the word dream. And I look back to my life, and I wonder at what age that I stopped dreaming, because I definitely have, right? I was probably I don't know, 8 or 9, where you can do anything and the world is yours and that kind of thing. So I guess my question to you is, how do you tap into that with kids? How do you say that, you know what, you can do that? How is that message relayed to you as an assistant principal? How do you tell kids that?
Well, this is one way that we're doing it here at Reagan. I'm very proud of this, but we've come up with a program called Young Black Male Achievers. And what we've done is we've got all the black males in the school, which is probably about 240 some odd kids. And we got mentors. Now, the mentors are not from outside the school. The mentors are the teachers. The teachers mentor. So we hook up teachers with our black males. Because why? I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Okay. I could easily ask my fraternity to come over and be mentors for these young men. We're a historically black school, we're a historically black fraternity. We could easily come over here, and we're a lot of professionals. We could easily come over here and be mentors to these kids, and there would be no problem. But Phi Beta Sigma is not the classroom teaching these kids. So therefore, you have to be able to see these kids for what they are and who they are before you can actually teach them. And as I told them when we first started that, because like I told you, it's a predominantly white school. I told them you can't be scared of them, because if you're scared of them, you can't teach them. So what we do is we prep the teacher. Teachers are the mentors. When the teachers are, like I said, sometimes if the kid's having a problem, and let's say Jason's class, and Jason just walks down, he'll talk to you and say, hey, can you talk to your mentor? He's doing this, or he's not turning this in. Mentor gets in, hey, you're not doing this in Mr. Harrell's class. You need to do this, X, Y, and Z. And then it gets done. Because a lot of times what people don't realize, kids don't want to disappoint. Kids want to please. Kids are people, adult pleasers. But a lot of times you just see the acting out or the reaction that you're getting from kids. And a lot of people don't look at what's causing the reaction. And that's what the problem is. I'm not telling anybody, by all means, I'm not telling you to take disrespect or anything of that nature. But you have to understand where the disrespect is coming from. When you understand where the disrespect is coming from, then you can deal with it and you can handle it. I have no problem with disrespect. I have no problem with a kid cursing. Now, I don't tolerate cursing. But if a kid cursed, I'm going to correct him and say, hey, watch your mouth. But I'm not going to go drag him to the office, write him up, because I'll be spending the rest of my day doing that, because it's language. And we have to understand that sometimes with kids, we have to dig a little deeper. We have to dig a little deeper with them to find out what's the real issue. Who wakes up in the morning angry? So when they hit the door at 8 o'clock in the morning and they're already angry, then there's something that has caused them to be angry. They're not just waking up mad. The sun's shining, so I'm mad. They're not doing that. But people have to look at kids for what they are and who they are. And I think that what we do and what society needs to do as far as education-wise, we don't need to always think about, if we just pour more money. But at the same time, we need to look at the real value of education. Look at the real value and look at who is benefiting right now. So that's another thing.
I want to piggyback off just the idea of dreams, and like saying at 8 or 9. I know at 8 or 9, I stood in front of like a basketball league and said, I want to be the next white Michael Jordan. Like, that is documented in Goldsboro history. And there was always the kids that, everyone that kind of picks up a ball that has any kind of skill, like, thinks that they will be in the NBA, and we know the statistics, or the NFL. You have actually worked, whether it's you've coached or been a part of like a number of NFL players and professional athletes, and I please encourage you to name drop some of them.
Okay.
But I'm curious, like, when you're dealing with someone, like, I'll use my example, right? When you're dealing with someone like me that says I want to be in the NBA, and let's be honest, like, that's the dumbest thing I could have said, versus an athlete that did make it. What's the difference that you see, and how do you kind of, as a coach or even a principal, how do you kind of foster and nudge in one way or the other like the one that you know can probably actually make it versus the one that you kind of need to take them off the dream bus.
Well, this is what I do, and I'll be honest with you. I'm not here to pop anyone's bubble, but I do. When I hear your dream, I'll tell you what's your goal. One thing I used to do with my ninth graders when I was a teacher, I used to have them to write a 7-year plan. In 7 years, where do you see yourself? I knew who I was dealing with by the papers I got. And it was always, I see myself in the NBA. I see myself in the NFL. I got 3 cars. I got 4 houses. And I knew for a fact this kid was in La La Land. He was dreaming. He was really a dreamer. And then, I would get those papers where this one young lady, last name was Ledford. I can't remember her first name, but she went to NC State because she wrote when she was in the ninth grade that she wanted to be an astronaut. It's kind of funny because she wanted to be an astronaut. And I was like, oh, wow. And, but she had a plan. When her 7-year plan was, Papa, this year I'm going to do this year I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to do this, and she had named it down. She went off to NC State to started to study neurophysics or some kind of something. But anyway, make a long story short, she works for NASA. Okay. So maybe she's not the astronaut, but she hangs out where the astronauts hang out. But you just have to let kids dream. I didn't lose my dream of playing for the Dallas Cowboys until I got to college. I played defensive back. I went up against Yancey Thigpen, all pro, all Steeler, guy, Tennessee guy. I went with this guy against this guy. My first thing, I'm coming cocky freshman. This guy's built like a linebacker. He's big, huge. And I'm thinking, oh my God, dude, back then I could run. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to be easy. I'm going to impress these coaches, man. By the time quarterback said hit, man, I'm standing there and he's down the field. And I'm like, hey, come back. I wasn't ready. He just left me standing there. And I knew right then, whoa. And then my coach says, oh, yeah, freshman, meet Yancey Thigpen, All-American, blah, 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 blah. Ran his resume off a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm saying, okay, if I want to go to the NFL, I've got to be like this guy. So I have to be able to guard this guy because this guy's going to the NFL. And long story short, I never was able to guard that guy. So real quickly, I thought, okay, I better get this education. This NFL thing is not, that was my goal. I was going to Sam State. I was going to get drafted, man. I was going to play for the Cowboys. Hey, bro, I had the whole life, man. I played football since I started playing football when I was in second grade. At second grade, the coaches were on the field. By third grade, they were off the field. They weren't allowed on the field. Either signal the plays in or run. I come from Shelby. Shelby is a dominant football town here in North Carolina. I think we won something like 19 state championships. It's the history of good football. It's only 4 schools there, but they're all good history as football. And growing up in that particular county, which is Cleveland County, you had to play football if you were a male. That was just a thing. Plus, if you wanted girls, you wanted to play football, but not. But that was the thing. Like I said, we started when I was in second grade, and I played all the way through college. So I just thought that I put the work in, and that's what you miss right now. You know what you don't know. When I was young, I didn't know a lot of things. I just knew that I need to be in shape when I go to practice or for tryouts or whatever. But now kids, I tell them a lot, and I bring kids in, especially with basketball guys, because I tell some of them, your future is in football, but you like to show off your fade and your edge up. So therefore, you play basketball. But basketball, no matter what level you go to, have 12 scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
I said, now you think about this. Prime example. Rico McCarter was a hot topic. He played at Goldsboro High School for a little bit. Then he transferred down the street. You know where Wayne Country Day is. Yep. The Wayne Country Day of private school. Well, people were flying in Boston College, Carolina, Duke, Miami, just everybody was flying in to see this kid, which is 4 miles away from Goldsboro High School. And the kids could tell me, all the basketball players could tell me that what college was coming in that day to see Rico. Well, I would ask them a question. Did they come see you? Did they come up here to talk to your coach? Did they talk to anybody?
Mhm.
They didn't talk to anybody. I said, because they have 12 scholarships and they have 50 states and plus international. I said, so you think about this. Those Power Fives are taking those 12 scholarships and they're getting the best of the best. And then I would pull up, for example, I would pull up rivals, NC rivals. I would pull up their top 200 list. Show me your name on the top 200 list. Now, and then of course they'd stroll down the list and they'd be like, oh, I know this guy, I know this guy, but they never would find the name. And I'd tell them, now this doesn't mean that you can't play basketball on the next level. It just means that Power Five may not be your move.
Mm-hmm.
That may not be your move. So therefore, you may need to look at something else. And that's when even at Eastern Wayne, I did that with a lot of the football players. When I first got there, they thought if they didn't go to Carolina or NC State or one of the Power Fives, that they couldn't go to school. And my time in 5 years at Eastern Wayne, I sent about 22 kids to HBCUs because I came from HBCU. Mm-hmm. So I helped them to realize that there was other football out there and there's other things. You can still have your dream, but it may not be in the format that, that you think is going to be on TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lennox, we're getting down to the end. So got any final thoughts?
Coach, does Independence High School mean anything to you?
Oh, here it is.
Yeah, they do. Independence. Oh my God, man. They had that long streak there, but one thing that they really mean to me is Crest High School out of Shelby was the last team to beat them 34-27 down in Shelby when Chris Leak was a freshman. So yeah, but Independence that was a great story. I mean, that was a good school. Tommy Knox did a great job there. I think he's down in South Carolina now. But but now Charlotte has so many independents that you don't even really hear about independents anymore. Right now, the beast down there now is there's the Mallet Creeks, and then there's the what's that other school? Charlotte Catholic, the recruiting capital of the world on the religious exemption. They get anybody and bring them in from anywhere. Then you've got
Coach, he brings this up because he went to Independence.
I'm pretty sure that's why. I figured he had some ties there. That's why I had to take that little pin and just kind of let him know that last time. But they read.
It's funny you bring up Chris Leak because I was there when Chris Leak was a freshman. So I think we were seniors at the same time. So we had a couple of classes together. And you mentioned seeing people on campus. So I saw the Florida State head coach and the Clemson head coach, and just everybody came there. So my high school career, I only spent 1 year in Charlotte, and I played center for the basketball team. Team, I didn't play basketball until I came to Independence, and within 2 weeks of being on campus, I had like 7 scholarships, 7 D1 offers. So
there it is.
It is kind of interesting. If you go to the right school, it can be helpful to you as well.
Well, if you go to Fayetteville, for example, back in the day, Fayetteville used, they have the Camp Lejeune there, and what they would do at Camp Lejeune, they would call you come in with a family and they say, hey, you got a son. Oh, okay. Look at him and say, what does he do? Does he play any sports? And they'd be like, well, yeah, he plays football. Oh, football? Well, you want to go to Jack Britt. That's who you want to go to. I mean, they would just kind of form them out. Oh, you play soccer? Oh, you want to go to Terry Sanford. Oh, you play football? Oh, you want to go to Douglasburg. They would just form them out to these schools. I mean, it's just like we had Seymour Johnson, which is Air Force Base, nothing like a Marine base. And of course, they all went to Eastern Wayne. That was it, regardless. You could play dead, whatever. They just went to Eastern Wayne. They just went to our school. But now it has flipped, Jason. All the kids on the military base goes to ACOG.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eastern Wayne has become the black and brown school.
Really?
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. Yeah. But Independence, I really did. I enjoyed, watching Independence dominate. It was good to represent North Carolina like the way they did. I mean, they got hosed up there in Ohio in that Herb Street tournament. But other than that, they did their thing. I'll tell a quick story. New Bern, Chris Leak senior year, Chris had beat New Bern in the state championship that year. They beat New Bern to win the state championship, their fourth straight or something like that. Well, the next year I took over as head coach at Goldsboro High School, and guess who was the first person on my freaking schedule? New Bern. So I got these new guys, and I mean it's a late hire. It's one of those deals where they've got me in here like July 24th. The season starts July 31st. I don't get hired till the 24th. Well, it's like I got to get these kids ready. I mean, I'm barely got a team because there was some discord. They thought some other guy was going to get it. Then I swoop in and I get it, and so you've got adults telling kids don't play, just kind of trying to sabotage. So I'm having like 13 kids at practice on a varsity team. That's 13 kids. So I'm practicing like this. But being innovative. Once again, dreaming. I'm taking half the kids and putting on the right side while the other holds the bag, and then we flip it over, go to the left side, and let the other guy hold. So I did that for about 2 weeks, all the way up until the first game. And I finally got enough kids, and I had to hit the halls. And, hey, big man. I think that was my line. Every time I saw somebody, hey, big man, you playing football? Hey, big man. And so I was standing outside the cafeteria, man, just recruiting kids to play football. And so I finally got them, and they come there and say, you need to get little Earl. And I'm saying to myself, we don't need nobody else little. I don't need no little Earl. I said, we need some body, but we don't need just little Earl. And man, one day we were at practice, and all of a sudden, it was a nice sunny day, and all of a sudden it got real cold. It's like the sun went out, man. I don't know. I look up, man, and this huge 6'8" kid just standing down. You the coach? I was like, yes, I'm the coach. And he's like, I'm little Earl. I said, boy, nothing little about you. My sucker was huge. He's about 6'8", man, 3. But he went on to play at East Carolina. Like I said, Stanley Bryant, he's another guy, went on to play at East Carolina. Stanley was our all-state tight end, but he went to ECU as a tackle. Played many years, played for the Broncos a couple years, but then he went to the Canadian League where he won 3, what do you call them, Grey Cups?
Grey Cups.
He won 3 Grey Cups. They're all pro, I guess, what you call it. I don't know what you call their all-star team or whatever, but he was whatever that is, made it to the all-star game of the Canadian League several times. And then, of course, my main man was Manny Lawson. Manny Lawson went to NC State. He played opposite of Mario Williams, and he ended up getting drafted first round in San Francisco, then moving on to Cincinnati, then later moving on to Buffalo. And that's when he retired. He retired from Buffalo. But yeah, and then I've got Jaron Reed, who's he's a D tackle. He got drafted second round to Seattle. Stayed with Seattle when they were in the Legion of Boom. Then he left there and went to Kansas City for a year. Just finished up a year in Green Bay, and now he's back in Seattle. So he's been about 9-10 years in the league. So, and then the one story that I always tell people is, in his bio, they always say that Jimmy Graham never played high school football. I'm here to tell you that's not true. Eastern Wayne High School was one of the very few high schools at that time who had a 9th grade football team. Mm-hmm. We had a 9th grade football team, we had a JV football team, and we had a varsity football team. Not all the schools in North Carolina nor around our district had 3 football teams. And so we had to play some of the same teams twice, and we had to put in some other places. But Jimmy Graham was a part of that 9th grade football team. Of course, it was almost like club ball, but he was a part of that 9th grade high school football team. And then he left Chase Hoop Dreams.
We're gonna get you out on a softball question here. You grew up in Western North Carolina-ish. Mm-hmm. You lived a good part of your life in Eastern North Carolina. Which has the better barbecue? Is it Eastern North Carolina or is it Western barbecue?
Well, let me tell you something, man. I make sure my mama ain't watching this, but not. But no, you know what? 20 years ago, I would have said Western because that's just what I love. I mean, Bridges, from where I'm from, Bridges barbecue, Lexington barbecue, you couldn't beat. But my 15 years in Eastern North Carolina. I love Eastern barbecue. Now I'm gonna tell you, man, my first experience with Eastern barbecue, I could, oh no, no, no. You know, a guy, one of the players, um, his dad invited me over for barbecue. Well, if you say barbecue back in the on the western part of the state, we're talking about a cookout.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just call it what it is. But they said barbecue, so I said okay. He told me, he said, "Hey, we're gonna throw a pig on the grill." You know, back down west, we do a pig picking. You know, we'll cook the pig and you go up and pull off of it. But he said we're gonna throw a pig on the grill. So I said, okay, cool. So I got there a little too early. I didn't want to be late, but I ended up getting there earlier than what I probably should have. And so I'm getting there just as they're pulling the pig off the grill. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is different. They're going to take it off the grill. Well, this guy got like, put it on this daggum slab, and he's got like two hatchets, man. And he just started hacking it away at this thing, man. And I'm sitting here looking at him. I'm like, wow, okay. You know, so I'm looking around the table and stuff. I'm trying to find the sauce. Where's the sauce at, man? Where's the barbecue sauce, man? You know, where we're from, man. You know, western part of the state, there's barbecue sauce. Man, that guy gets some kind of vinegary stuff with some peppers in it, man, and starts shaking it all over it, man, and kind of mixing it up. I'm looking at this guy like, dang. And then, you know, I mean, I'm talking everything. You know, he's pulled the ribs and stuff out, but he's chopping up gristle, everything up in there. He just chop, 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 chop. And I'm like, wow. And then he says, "Go grab one of those plates over there." So I grab a plate, man, and he just grabs a big scoop and says, and I look at him, I say, "What do you want me to do with this?" Yeah, he said, "That's your food, Coach. That's your plate, Coach." He said, "Yeah, you can fix you a plate the size over it." And I'm like, "Y'all eat it like this?" And he's like, "Yeah. How y'all eat it?" I was like, "Oh man, it's a whole different game where I'm from."
Oh, imagine me telling people in LA those pig picking stories and where I came from. They can't handle it. They can't handle
I tell you, man, look, you got me on barbecue now. But no, Eastern barbecue to me, I think, like I said, I hated it. But I guess the longer I stayed in Goldsboro, the more now, because I'm back here in Winston, which is about 15 minutes from Lexington,
it. Hmm.
and I don't like the Lexington barbecue. I don't like the tomato based, you know, barbecue anymore. I prefer just good old fashioned Eastern style vinegar barbecue. So
That's great.
yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of To the Moon God Pod. I'm JwowLax for LoveOx. Coach Jackson, always a pleasure. Good to reconnect. And thank you so much for the insight. If you guys have made it this far, obviously, retweet, comment, subscribe, follow us for more. We'll keep bringing you not only the moon gods of Aku, but the moon gods in real life. So we will see you next time.